33B. What are you on the flat earth?
What the hell are you?
I'm human. What are you? Being a human is not all we are, and sometimes you have to go down to the very base levels to understand the truth. And the most important thing to know is that you are an animal. What is an animal? Animals are living organisms. This means they breathe, they eat, they grow, and they reproduce. Plants are living organisms too. So what is the difference between a plant and an animal? Plants do not move, whereas most animals do. The true difference, though, is that plants produce their own food, whereas animals feed off other things. So now there's another breakdown of being an animal, and that gets to be the point of what classification we are in the animal kingdom, and we are mammals. So what is a mammal? A mammal is an animal whose babies are fed milk from the mother's body. It has a backbone and a well-developed brain. A mammal has fur or hair, and it is also warm-blooded. These are examples of mammals: kangaroo, raccoon, chimpanzee, bats, chipmunks, anteaters, whales, foxes, etc., etc. Now, that is really important to understand that you are a mammal. That tells you where they got the genetic code for you. So, the genetic code needed for the Elohim to create us was from mammal stock. They use different mammals because of the fact that we are a mammal. So, do we have reptilian stuff in us? I don't think so. Do we have any other of the major classifications of animals out there? Birds, reptiles, amphibians, things like that. I don't think so. I think the version that they made with us, logic tells me that if we are a mammal, then we had to come from other mammals that were spliced and diced to get the right formula to make what they were needing to make, i.e., humans, mankind. Now I'm showing a picture of the rhesus monkey because there are clues everywhere in this world if you know how to look for them. The rhesus monkey is what they call the blood type if you have a certain allele in your blood to determine if you have that, you are Rh positive, which means you have that rhesus monkey allele gene in your blood, or Rh negative, meaning that there is no monkey gene in your blood. So obviously, they've been telling us for a long time that we came from apes slash monkeys. And if anybody really looks at it, it makes sense. Now they tell us from the evolutionary side, and there's no missing link from chimps or monkeys to us, because the missing link was on a lab table in a civilization long, long time ago that made what they needed for the plane that they were colonizing. Another thing you are is you're bipedal. You're a biped. You have your walking system is based off of two legs and two legs only. Now you can look across nature and see that that is not normal at all. Some could say that a kangaroo is bipedal, but they actually use their tail, so they're more tripedal, and they hop. They don't walk Our structure is completely different because what monkeys and apes, most people may or may not know, is that they are quadrupeds. They move on all four. Yes, they can stand and they can walk on two legs, but that's not their their normal way of movement. Their normal way of movement is quadruped. They move on all four, monkeys and apes, from gorillas to chimps to bonobos to all that stuff. Now, being a biped allows the use of hands, arms, and digits, fingers. And the correct design that somebody would use is, there's a couple examples in the mammalian group. You know, the, the monkeys, the apes, raccoons have them, but there's not many things that have an opposable digit that we call a thumb, and that's why they chose. The number one reason why they chose is because you have to have the use of the hand to make things, to fiddle with things. You need that thumb, and so being a biped was absolutely crucial to the design. And here's just a little thing for the women out there, and that's why childbirth is so excruciating painful for humans, because the way that the pelvic bone is situated and how the canal goes through it. That's why um, human mothers that give birth is so difficult compared to other animals. Other animals, the quadrupeds, they're just sitting out there and it comes out like, I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of effort, but it's because of the way that they turned us into this bipedal animal that made childbirth so difficult for human females, because it's not a natural way to move and to have a structure. And another reason why we all have back problems, or most people will get back problems, because the structure was originally designed for four legs. Well, when you put it onto two, that's going to create a lot of pressure on the spine and everything else. Um, but one of the things that people talk about is what separates um, us from other animals. And the thing that I always go back to is, intelligence, consciousness, all that. I believe that animals have consciousness, but it's free will. What is free will? To me, free will is the natural way to find a mate and to reproduce. All wild animals have free will. Yes, they have to do a lot of things to mate, but they have the ability to choose their mate for themselves in nature. So let's use this elk couple for an example. That bull elk was able to choose that he wanted to mate with that cow elk. And that cow had free will to let that bull get on top of her. That's free will. Okay? To be able to choose who you want to reproduce with. So mankind at the beginning was created. And there was probably a period of time where that that reproduction right was not granted towards those humans. Uh, there was specific things that those creators wanted out of their creation. So therefore, free will was not granted to those humans. Humans, post MCOs, found their free will. They were able to, because the system was destroyed, there was things in place through um, customs and laws and rituals and different things like that to keep the population from breeding with free will. The masters and controllers needed a specific type of human being that they wanted to manufacture completely. So free will wasn't granted until after the M code, the big one that really leveled the place, i.e., Noah's flood or Tower of Babel. We are the only species on this planet that was created without free will. All animals get to decide through natural selection and, survival of the fittest of who gets to breed. We, on the other hand, never had that right and have to continually fight for that right to reproduce the way that we naturally would want to do it. But there's controls in place because they do not want their creations reproducing and veering off of what those things were created for. Population control is the thing that they use to take away our free will. Wild animals. Let me reiterate that. Wild animals. So now you'll understand the domestic side of what you are, because the exact same formula is used from the shepherd to whatever farm animal they have. So let's take a large flock like sheep. Sheep are separated from the breeding ram. They usually select one breeding ram or a couple to breed with the ewes. And so the shepherd decides what traits and qualities he wants for the offspring of his property. The sheep, the rams, and the ewes do not decide who they're going to reproduce with. The shepherd decides that. And that is how it is with domesticated animals. Yes, you have some that will get loose and they'll mate, and like dogs, feral dogs that will go out and they'll just be mating with other feral dogs. But controlled breeding and breeding on farms with domesticated animals is the way to ensure that you get specific qualities, traits, and desired outcomes for the task or job or function that you want from that domesticated animal. So, I know this may sound a little simplistic, but this is really important to understand the nature of your world, all the questions and everything else, because you have to understand what you are. And when you understand that you are an animal, and when you understand that you are a specific type of animal, i.e., a mammal, and when you understand that in nature, everything has free will, and that free will has been taken away from you in the past and still wants to be taken away from you because you are not a quote unquote normal thing made in this environment. You were created through different means. Therefore, that property ownership aspect of it keeps people away from what they really are. And that is one of the key things to understand in all of this, is that we are different, and we are bipolar by nature, because a portion of us is made with natural things here, and another portion of us is made with things that are not natural here. And that's the dichotomy that we have, and that internal struggle that we have, because we fight our own instincts, because those instincts are giving us conflicting messages, and we have a hard time deciphering that for the vast, vast majority of the population. Now, I will get into that on the how you were made and how are you in this world. I'm going to do the where, the when, the why, but the how really helps understand why we have that internal struggle. And a lot of people call it good versus evil. The devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder. And that's the conflict within all of us, because we were not made naturally for this environment. Next video, part 33C. Where are you on the flat earth?